Hi guys. So what we're doing today is we're working with equations with pronumerals on both sides. So remember this word pronumeral, that's pretty much just like a letter, like our X here. And we're dealing with them on both sides. So on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So as you can see here, we've got an X on the left-hand side of this equal sign and an X on the right-hand side. So when you see these sorts of equations, these strategies and rules have to go off in your head when you see X on left-hand side and X on right-hand side. Really, really important. Okay, so the problem with these questions is that we can't get X by itself because there are two separate X's. So like if we try to get this X by itself, like we can try to do that, but you'll notice on the other side there's still another X. So that's a huge problem. We just want one X by itself. So we actually have to do something about the X appearing on the other side as well. So somehow we need to move one of the X's. So the idea is, how do we move an X? Well, this is the rule. So the opposite of X is minus X. So if you want to move an X, you just do the opposite, just like with normal equations. And the opposite of minus 5x is plus 5x. So the idea is we're pretty much just doing the opposite sign. Okay, so you think, opposite of negative is going to be positive, and the opposite of positive is going to be negative. So it's simple as that. Okay, so let's give a few a try. Oh, actually, the strategy that's involved. So you need to remove the X's from one side. Because if you remove them, so say, for example, we move this 3x, if we somehow could cross it out, then you'd be just left with 1x, and you could get this one by itself. So that's the strategy. And you also want to move these numbers, these whole numbers, to one side. Okay, so that's what the second part of our strategy is. So get the numbers on one side, get the X's on the other side. That's the idea. Okay, so let's give an example. Let's give this one a try, this one we saw above. So I look at this and I think to myself, we've got 5 X's here and 3 X's here. I've got X's on both sides. So first things first, let's try to move one of these lots of X, well, either this one or this one. It's actually easiest to move the smaller amount of X's. So I've decided to do the opposite of my 3x, which is minus 3x down here. So I'm minus 3x to both sides. Remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, so we've got 3x and we're minusing 3x. Now, they literally cancel each other out. So you get them just crossing each other out. Sorry, we'll just get rid of that one there. And over on the other side, we've got 5x take away 3x here. So we've got to think to ourselves, what is 5x take away 3x? Well, that's going to give us 2x. So that comes straight down. And notice that your 3 just comes straight down and your 11 just comes straight down. So, and so therefore when we do that, we end up with this equation here. We pretty much just write down what's left over and we see this. I want you to have a really good look at this equation and think, hang on, that's just a nice, easy equation where we can just get that X by itself. So notice how our equation with X's on both sides turned into this. It's all about making our equation easier. So now we deal with our nice, easy equation, this one. We get rid of the plus 3 away from X by minusing 3 from both sides. And then we have 2x equals 8. Then we divide by 2, and we get that x is equal to a 4. Done. X is by itself. So it's all about going from something difficult to something even easier, and then finally to your answer. Okay, so now that we've got our answer of x equals 4, that's our solution, we've solved the equation, I want you to practice checking your answer. Now, the way to check your answer is to substitute this answer into your equation. So the idea is, start with your original question, and now we want to change our x's, so these two x's here, we want to change them to this x equals 4. So let's do that. So we've got x is a 4 here and a 4 here, and let's see what the left hand side and the right hand side look like. or what they equal, sorry. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23. And over here, 3 times 4 is 12, plus 11 makes 23. So because we got 23 equals 23, that's a true equation. And that's the idea. We're trying to solve for x so that it is true. So therefore, we know that our x equals 4 is correct. Okay, so moving on. So we've got the right answer there. So that's a really important skill to be able to do during a test to make sure that you're not doing any silly mistakes. Okay, so let's give this question a try. So a little bit similar sort of question. You've got x's on both sides. So you have to think to yourself, I need to move one of the x's. Now, I can either move the minus x or I can move the 2x. I've got to think which one would be better. Now, it's nicer to remove the negative x. And the reason is because negative x's are annoying. You don't want to have to deal with too many negatives because they do confuse people. They make it easier to make mistakes. So we want to move the minus x. How do we move minus x? Well, we do the opposite to both sides. So the opposite of minus x is plus x. So I do that to both sides. Minus x plus x. So we look at this. They pretty much cancel. So minus x and plus x, they're going to literally make each other vanish, just like that. Our minus 5 comes down, because that we haven't moved that yet. The 10 comes down. And we've got this 2x, and we're plussing x. So 2x plus x, well, that makes 3x, so that has to come down. Now, what we're dealing with here, again, is another easy equation. So here, I look to myself, I need to get this x by itself. I'm going to move the 10 first by minusing 10 to both sides. 10 minus 10 is 0, they cancel. Minus 5, take away 10, well, that's minus 15. And the 3x comes down. So we make sure we bring that down. And now we've got to get this x by itself. We divide by the 3, both sides. Minus 15 divided by 3 gives us our minus 5. And we've got that x is minus 5. Done. Again, we want to check this answer. So what we do is we go back to the original question. We write that down and we change our x to our answer. So our x is changing to a minus 5. When you're subbing in a negative number, remember, put your negative 5 in brackets because it can stuff you up if you don't, especially if you're putting some of these into your calculator. Okay, so the negative comes down, the x changes to minus 5, and the minus 5 comes down. And if we put this into our calculator, it comes out as 0. Or if we do it in our head, the negative of negative 5 is a positive 5. So positive 5 take away 5 makes 0. And over here, we've got 10 plus 2 times negative 5. Well, 2 times negative 5, well, that's negative 10. And we're adding on this 10. So negative 10 and 10, that makes 0 as well. If you're having trouble with that, don't feel free to put this stuff in your calculator, just like you see. Now we've got 0 is equal to 0. That is definitely true. They're the same number. They're equal to each other. So therefore, our answer of negative 5, which we got up here, is correct. Okay, good luck with the questions. Bye.